Hello, everyone. Hi, this is Catherine. I'm using a tape recorder. It's not even a tape recorder, it's a Zoom pod track recorder. But I know I did this when I was a kid on a tape recorder. I'm looking at something on the ground in my room, the floor, and it looks like a butterfly wing, but I know it's not. It's something else. What is it? I don't know what it. Oh, it's a leaf. It's a leaf. It's not a butterfly wing. I actually learned the word for that. Like, when you see pictures in the clouds or like you see Jesus in toast, when somebody's like, oh my God, it's Jesus. Oh my God. Or like you mishear the lyrics or words in a song. It's your brain trying to make meaning of something and there's a name for it. And I don't remember what the name is right now, but there is a name for it. I feel like that's like a lot of my brain. I don't remember the names or the things, but I'm pretty good at like understanding concepts and connecting ideas. But like, ask me a term or like a solid fact, not a solid fact, like a title or something. I can like explain things, but I'm not great at remembering names or words. Anyways, I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody does. That's what I've learned. We're all just playing pretend every day. We are using what other people have shown us. Oh, there's a hole in my shirt. Other people have shown us, and taking those things and turning them into something else in our life, transforming our past into our future in the present moment. Something I've been thinking a lot about lately is my art practice and my artist statement, and like what is the intention that I'm trying to do with my art, because I often feel like I am inspired in play. I'm inspired by so many excuse me. I'm inspired by I'm inspired. I am inspired by so many different topics and things and objects and like concepts, and I see the duality and like the black and white sort of thinking that I have in my art. Like I'm really interested in capitalism and but also sustainability. Like I'm interested in like addiction, but also like healing and wellness, mental health and mental illness, but like mental wellness. And something I just learned today, I went to an art talk slash little group sesh and learning about like the invention of the word art, or like art didn't become art until like the 18th century. And I don't think it was the 16th century before there was a separation of our body and mind. And going a bit off topic, but just how in contemporary culture we very much we're a consumer based society. Like we're really in the physical realm. There's a lot of commodities, and we just want more and more and more. And I see this interesting connection in my brain of like, oh, like at one point, our body and mind were just like all seen together, and like we've gradually separated, like created these, when we like bring something to the physical world, that it is like a separation of self in a way, or it's like a fragmentation. And just seeing how like we have more things externally that we wanted to find and label, and like even in ourselves, like the more knowledge we have, the more we understand, the more that we discover, and etc etc. It also creates like a fragmented understanding. And even like in contemporary like medicine and research, we're like coming back to this idea that like, oh my God, like the brain body connection, it's like so connected, it's not separate. And there's like it's interesting that it's something that is like discussed and argued, and has like there has to be a research paper to like make it valid in, modern westernized society. And I understand it, why it is in certain places, and why it's become like in the physical realm, like, you need a certain diagnosis to get a certain insurance claim, etc., etc. Like that makes sense in that realm of, I guess, insurance. And I don't know, do you call that, is that part of an economics? I'm not 100% sure. But where was I going? I was going somewhere and I forgot. Oh yeah, the separation of self. But like really like, so yeah, reading about like neuroscience and the gut brain connection, all these things, and I'm like, well, yeah, duh. Of course that makes sense. Like it's like intuitive, and it's like we've forgotten, and we're just waiting for science to tell things back to us, even though like I don't like proving things with science doesn't mean that they weren't already previously like understood in a different way. And not saying that like everything that, like, they haven't discovered new things, or it hasn't, there haven't been new discoveries and shaped our understanding, but like it's not like certain of these things haven't existed or like had the understanding before. And even now, like I find another like an contemporary like medicine, or honestly a lot of things are so siloed. Like if you need to go see one specialist, you go to the specialist for, so I've been dealing with long COVID, post COVID, and that's where I've been really getting into like neuroscience and things. And I will bring this back to my artist statement, but just like, yeah, learning about like how your nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, how stress impacts the body, how food impacts the body, how everything can can be like, physical activity is a stress on the body. It doesn't, like, not all stress is bad. Like stress is in some ways like healthy. There are healthy forms of stress and there are unhealthy forms of stress, and if your body is in a healthy state, you can get not you can get yeah, if you're not if your body isn't like in a state of calm to like recover and blah blah blah, then certain stresses can have more of an effect on you if you don't have like a good baseline, I guess. Anyways, so in modern, bringing this back to like our contemporary culture, it's like, yeah, even like in medicine, it's very siloed. I was going to like have to see multiple different doctors for like different symptoms I was having, but like none of them are communicating. And I'm like, oh, I see how like this is a problem. And I'm like telling one doctor one thing, and I'm like, well, you told me this, but this doctor told me that. And I'm like having to find all the connections myself, and reading journal articles now, because, you know, doctors might not, they can't really do much if there isn't that science backed up, but there's so much research that's being like shared that like sometimes the medicine and the practices aren't caught up to with the research, and it's hard to like read a research article and blah 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 blah. But anyways, but it's like siloed. Same with like social media. Like we're in these like echo chambers, in these silos, and there's, I'll have to add some of these references where these are, some of these guys are ideas like I've had, but other people have talked about them too. But yeah, we're like siloed into these social media echo chambers where everything that I see and understand is in my own world. And anyways, so we've fragmented and boxed and labeled and separated all these things, and it has been beneficial in so many ways, but also it hasn't been beneficial in a lot of different ways. And yeah, coming back, so I forget where my tangent started with that, but kind of coming back to like my art statement and my art practice, and I'm seeing like how I have all these different topics and all these things that I'm like, oh, and this is connected to that, and this is connected to that, and this is the opposite of this. And I'm seeing how all of these are interconnected. And I've been really thinking about the word transform or like transformation in this, because in like the realm of like healing or like change, you know, something starts as one form and has to become something else. And like, I know in science and like, there's the idea of like, there's no energy cannot be created or destroyed. It just like changes. I think that was my understanding. Although, except now I think in like that CERN, in the CERN, like that generator thing, energy can or matter can be created. So I'm confused. I don't completely know. But going off that energy cannot be created or destroyed, it's just like it changes into something else. So if you're angry, if you focus on the anger and you're angry, like you're not going to move through it. It's not going to change into anything unless like you move through it and pass through it. And then your anger, I guess, can be powerful in other ways. And I'm not an expert in can't remember what anger changes into, but I'm sure it can change into like many different forms. But like, I think that's kind of the point that I want to try and focus on, is relating to like the present moment, relating to not the past or the present, but not the past or the future, but like the present moment. And I know like in some of my art, I use very like harsh language. Like I think I do have a lot of anger inside of me, like the word fuck, or I'll write like I'm angry. Like I just will have like a lot of these aggressive thoughts and like just free flowing out of me. And I'm kind of stuck in this place of, I'm like, I want to create art that is in the state that I wish to be. So if I truly do believe that if we want to change the world, we have to change ourselves, and we have to focus inward and like self-reflect and understand who we are internally in order to exist and share that in the world around us. And I definitely do not practice this, but rather I should say I do practice this, because words are powerful, words are magical, words create the life that we live. And I am on the path of creating more positive and transformative language. Although I also find freedom in expressing whatever emotion it is that I am feeling. But I really want to kind of bring it together in this space of transformation. So it's not just one or the other, but it's both. And it's kind of that point of transformation. I've often thought in my art, like I do really freely like a lot of abstract stuff. And a lot of that time I've created a lot of abstract stuff, I think, is because I am really disconnected in those moments from myself. I need something to ground me, and I don't want to be grounded in trying to follow along with something, because I do find that very strenuous. I find it very difficult to pay attention and to like follow and to like have that concentration. Sometimes it can be such a challenge, and I like art in my creation, in my world, serves me the purpose of just freedom of expression and like letting go and like its release. It's honestly very therapeutic for me. I have to often tell myself there is a difference. Oh, am I recording? Did I press record? I did. Okay. I have to tell myself there's a difference between therapy or like my journal and my art practice. And honestly, they blend together a lot of the time. I'll be writing my journal and then art starts coming out. I'll be writing in my art journal or my art books, and then my journal starts coming out. Like there is this like fine line, and I think it's a boundary that I need to discover and discover and kind of set, I guess, for myself. Historically, I definitely need to do like a get to know me episode. I don't know why. I can't help but think that this is supposed to exist as a podcast, and I wanted to like interview other people, but I think I kind of just need to like go solo at the moment, because hopefully there's like less expectation on myself. I feel like when there's someone else, like I feel so much pressure. So maybe this is just like a freedom creative outlet for myself to speak. Will I share everything? Maybe not. We'll see how much I share. Sharing is caring. like, you know, when, like, where did that come from in my brain? But that's where my mind went. And I'm completely off topic. I don't know what I was even talking about anymore. Something about my art practice, something about where I am on that line was like, oh, is this recording? I don't know. I'm lost. I think I should do this myself. Oh, I was thinking I should introduce myself, do an introduction. Anyways, yeah, back to my art practice. Yeah, so oh yeah, yes, this is the idea that I wanted to share. I used to, yeah, I do a lot of abstract art, and I sometimes would like draw a frog or something. And honestly, when I do draw those frogs, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I need to do this more. But it does require a lot more energy and focus. And I get that that is in like the strict art realm, is like, you know, you learn how to draw like this and paint like this, and it's very formal. And then there's all these different realms, and I do very much feel like I'm a floater. I feel like I'm just like all and everywhere and in between, like that quote, which often is not completed. A jack of all trades, master of none, is often better than a master of one. Bitch, I'm not jack of all trades, cat of all trades. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Um, but yes, I want to kind of focus in on. Okay, well, I got distracted again. Sorry, my life. But yeah, I'm slowly like, I can see, or there have been times in my past where I've like had this concept of like moving from this abstract art into a more real, I don't want to say realism, because I don't think that will ever be me, but like who knows, but more into the realm of what we can see and conceptualize. And so maybe that's incorporating more words into my art, incorporating more like signs and symbols. I was watching or just looking at Basquiat's art, but just like listening or watched a documentary on how he, like something on YouTube about how, like, where he goes for like his inspiration. And he'd be like reading a book, and there'd be like, I think he had like, there was like this image of a belt buckle, and then he put that belt buckle on his art piece. And I think maybe like what I'm really interested in is like these, like where we are presently in contemporary culture, but then also using that as like a point of transformation, I guess, for myself, that I hope also serves as the transformation for other people. So yeah, so just like bringing, like, I guess playing with this line of like completely abstract on one end and realism on the other. And I don't think I'm going to be completely one or the other. I've done a lot of abstract stuff, and it's interesting. Like, I feel like maybe there's a certain point in your career where abstract is very popular, and it's like, oh my gosh, like look at this abstract art. But maybe it's just not at the beginning of your career. Like currently, what I'm seeing in like the realm around me, is, you know, like women's bodies. Everybody loves a woman's body. Everybody, then, you know, it's like human bodies, and it's like flowers and fauna and like things that we can really connect with and see. And like there's nothing wrong with it. I honestly absolutely love it. But sometimes I make art and then just don't look at it and just like throw it into the ether. I don't know how I feel about that. Also, I've realized like I'm a bad speller, but I'm also like, I often get my sentencing mixed up, or like my words mixed up. And even like when I'm speaking, sometimes I feel like I'm stumbling over my words. My words, I stumble over them. Because I think like in my mind, I don't really, like, the way I speak isn't the way I think. Like I speak like how people speak, but I don't think, like, I mean, I don't think anybody, I'm sure there are some people, but I would imagine like a lot of the way we think isn't exactly how we speak into the world. Like I definitely think in more concepts and like connections, and I have a pretty visual mind, but like I'm not thinking the way I speak, which I think is interesting to think about, because like you can never be in somebody else's head. Like you don't know what somebody else's head is like. But yeah, so for me, I'm like really want to zone in on this like idea of transformation, in like many aspects. And I think that's kind of what draws all of these different subjects that I'm interested come together. Trying to think of like whatever. Oh yeah, my phone is currently, because I'm addicted to the internet and my screen and phone, I put a time limit on it. And then if you have an iPhone, I'm not sure if Android does this, but I have a time limit with a password, and I don't have my password. If I'm living with somebody else, they have my password. So I cannot get into it after 10 p.m. and it is now 10:25. Okay, 10:25, I can't get into my apps except a few ones that are like that you need, like Maps. Oh my god, Google Maps is currently blocked. Okay, I need to fix that. That has happened to me before, or like Uber was blocked anyways. And then I had to, yeah, that was a whole mess of a thing. I had to ask a cop to like help me call a cab because I couldn't. Anyways, yeah, I'm interested in this point of transformation because, yeah, I'm seeing that as like a connection between a lot of the things that I'm interested in. Like there's opposites, and then this idea that, and where what this brings to mind is there's this one podcast called The Shadow Work Library, and the Shadow Work Library, she discusses what I think she's inspired by, the I Ching, which is an I Ching. I could be saying that wrong. It's like a Chinese text that is a lot about like this transition, this transmutation of feelings or energy. And she also like links in like the historical aspect of it, and it'll be like, I don't know, like anger into joy. And that's completely wrong. That is not correct, but that is the idea, the concept. I can't remember two things that are transformed off the top of my mind right now. But even with like the idea of like consumerism to like sustainability, or just like finding those things where it's like, okay, this transforms into that, and like finding that point. Like I'm like interested as much as like I like shopping new. Like, don't get me wrong, like I do, but there's also this great big part of me now that it's like, oh, okay, well, I really need to be conscious of my impact on the environment. So I'm like, is it better to just like buying secondhand, but is it better to like buy secondhand paint that exists? Like I would often take paint from like the shared shelf at my art studio from someone else. So I'm like, okay, I didn't buy it. It's not new. It's secondhand. Somebody didn't want it, so I want it. Or is it better to like make your own paint from like rocks or like different things that you can collect from the environment? Or is it better to buy like sustainable paints and like eco-friendly paints? Like there's a lot of options, and I don't really know if there is one right answer, but I think I can't help but go on this path of questioning. In university, I often came to this point of struggle. Oh, I feel like this should be a YouTube video. That's what it should be. But I'm not recording a video at the moment, so this is just going to be an audio. Maybe it'll be a voice. Maybe I'll record. That's what I'll do. Maybe I'll record like however long this is. How long are you? Okay, it's only 24 minutes. Maybe I'll like record a clip of me painting for 24 minutes, and then I'll put this over that. I forget. I need somebody to keep me on track. I think this is why it's good to have like somebody to bounce ideas off of. But honestly, I do like talking to myself, because essentially I'm just talking to myself out loud, and it doesn't feel that weird because it's like into a microphone. But like I don't talk out loud really to myself much ever. Oh yes, sustainability in art. So I've been questioning like, should I even make art? And actually in the art talk that I was at today, he was talking about that. He's like, yeah, this one artist asked me like, should we even make art? And he's like, yes, we have to make art, because if we didn't make art, we would die. Even though art can also cause so much pain, and even though that like the world is so crazy and there's so much chaos. Like we have to create art no matter what. And when I was like in first, second year, I was like, oh my, like I took this one class. It was like art. It was like art contemporary art today, or like art since 1950, and it was all about basically like art and how consumerism and art have kind of like integrated. And I just felt so guilty. I was like, how can I make something else that like is just going to exist to be consumed and it's just like another commodity? And I really was like, I can't, like, how do I do that? Like I love art, but like can I do that? Like, is that okay? Like I guess I felt a lot of shame. I felt like, is art, I had all the internal thoughts, is art even a real job? Who knows? Is art a real job? Is art something that you can do? And I was just had all these intrusive thoughts, which I now believe are incorrect. However, I also believe that whatever you believe to be true will be true, right? So at that time, that was true for me. And at this time, it is no longer true. I identify with the title artist. Will I always identify with that title? Might change it to something else. But that was, a really empowering point for me, because I wanted to claim it, but I was also simultaneously rejecting the idea because of other thoughts and beliefs that I had. Um, and one of those was like, yeah, like I can't do, like I need to learn, like I kind of just felt I need to learn more about the world before I even make one piece of art. Like I can't call myself an artist until I've actually experienced things, you know? You got to like experience things to like experience them, like experience them.
I think you should experience it. You always say, I want to experience things, but I don't think you actually want to experience things, because you would experience it if you wanted to experience things. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I wanted to experience other things and like learn more. So I like thought I was going to go into like health, because I was like very, very depressed. And I thought, oh, like I just wanted to like learn how to like make myself feel happy. And then I ended up switching into Soch. I think I switched into Soch. Both, I did find it interesting, but also it was like really easy. I took a few psych classes. I took like intro to psych, and honestly, I did pretty, like I didn't do that great in it. I found it difficult. And then I started taking like personality psych, and I literally thought I was a serial killer. Like it was terrifying. And it just got, honestly, and I was just not in a good place. So then taking that course, I was just like, oh my God, I'm mentally unstable. I cannot be here. So I dropped out. And then yeah, I ended up in Soch. I really liked my social anthropology classes. Those were great. But I learned a lot about like society and like contemporary society, and like how it exists in many different forms. Like we learned about the environment and society. We learned about like women's work, and I learned about community development and like all these subjects around society. And a lot of like the subject matter, it always included, basically like the oppression and like really sad things, and like the negative effects on our world of the systems that exist today, and like how it exploits people and the environment and animals. And but also that like like what we can change about those things, especially in like that community development class. And then yeah, I kind of like was pretty lost after university. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was like, am I supposed to be, my Zoom pod track died because I needed to replace the batteries. I'm sure someone else has done this in their life. You need like AA batteries or AAA batteries, whatever batteries you need. So then you go and find all the other devices with those batteries, and then take them out and then use it for the new device. And then you're always just like switching batteries around. Anyways, that's what I just did. But yeah, I was talking about how I didn't know what I wanted to do after school. I was pretty lost. I knew I wanted to travel. So I was like work bartending at the time and saved up to travel, and ended up traveling on and off for like 4 years. Lived in Australia for a little bit, for like a year. And then I was traveled Southeast Asia on that trip for like 5 months. And then like a month or two after, And then before that, I had gone on like a 5 month trip and spent so much money and went into debt. And then in that year, 2017, is when I stopped drinking and doing drugs. I became sober. That's a story for another time. And yeah, I was like kind of like, what am I doing? Like, I don't know. Like, I think I always knew I wanted to do art, but I think I kind of lost it along the way, because even when I was traveling, I was taking photos. I tried to start a travel blog called Catherine on the Road. I painted some paintings when I was in Australia. I painted on this one wall in Malaysia. I did like an art exchange for, it was like with Workaway, but I made these like recycled tire sculptures, which was pretty cool. So I was kind of always chasing art in some way. Like I loved going to art galleries, and even in just like, especially like the smaller towns, or just like basically any country, not countries that you'd typically be like, oh, I want to go like look at the art here. But even looking at like just like the artifacts and like architecture and history and everything was just honestly so inspiring. In many ways, also like a lot of that, it was a little lonely, but yeah, that's, I feel like, a story for another time. But yeah, I returned home and I was like, okay, like if I want to be an artist, like I have to be in business, as much as like I didn't want to face that fact. I was like, I don't want to be a business. I was quite like I want to say I was like anti-capitalist, because I'm definitely not completely. I do think we need to use it as a tool to live, because we live in a capitalist society. So like you can't live outside of it. You can, but I mean, again, we're not going to go on that topic for at the moment. But I was just like, okay, I guess like I need to like learn to live. I need to learn this system. I need to like learn this aspect of it. So I went back to school. First I thought I was going to go into like textile business and like this special program, but then I decided just to do like business straight up, do like marketing management. And I mean, I did enjoy it, but it also showed me like what the business world is like marketing, advertising, sales, and how those are formed and how they influence people for profit. But also like at the same time, like it was really interesting to learn, and to like, I think was also really empowering to understand like, okay, yeah, like I can be an artist. I can have my own business and do this. And then I started kind of dipping my toes into that like art realm in 2020. So like while I was still kind of in marketing. But then I did kind of go down that path of traditional marketing. I was like, well, I need a job. Like I'm not making any money off my art right now. So I did couple marketing jobs, even like more recently. Then I went back into bartending, and then I like came out of another marketing job that just recently I got. There was no more work, so I no longer working there. It was a nonprofit, and that I was really interested and I actually did get to create an art piece out of recycled plastic, which was absolutely insane. And yeah, that brings me to today. And today I'm like, okay, what are my next steps? Where do I want to go? How do I want to make money with my art? I did in 2022, I did quit my job, and I was like, I am going to pursue art full time. This is my thing. And guess what? I then ended up not pursuing art full time because I needed money. I didn't make enough money from that time, which I think is totally fine. I'm okay with failing. I think we need to fail in order to grow and change and learn. However, I'm at this point now where my health is kind of flaring up, long COVID. I've got the COVID, the long cove. And I want to give my body the time it needs to heal and rest. And I think that in of itself is huge. There's the book Rest is Resistance, which I'm currently reading, and just learning also how I was talking about previously, how like all of, the neuroscience and how our stress on our body and like how the brain body connection and like why I'm experiencing like physical pain and like post exertional malaise and headaches. I'm like, it all has to do with like my stress and how I like understand the world, which is fascinating. But I also do want to like take steps forward, and I am still doing some art related things. Nothing that's like currently giving me tons of money. Applied to like some art jobs. I've applied to random like calls for art and things like that. But I really want to, step more into my art making practice and into like a lot of these ideas that I have. And I definitely think I get stuck in this ideation phase and don't step into the creation phase as much as I should. And I'm hoping that I'm going to get there to that point. So I can spend a lot more time creating, because I think that's where I really need to be. And I've been thinking about applying, or I am preparing to apply to an art master's. And there's part of me that's questioning, is now the right time? I don't know, but I think I'm probably going to apply anyways. There's also a few artist grants that I'm like, I have these art ideas floating around my head that I'm like, I think I could apply for an art grant with this. So I want to, gonna try doing those things as well. Will I get it? I don't know. And I guess that's what I have to remember, is like, I can just do my best and put my best foot forward and try and apply to these things. And if I get rejected, which I have many a time, I've applied to tons of art opportunities and I don't get all of them. I don't get a lot of them. And that's okay. That's a part of like the process. But I do need to, what's that saying of like, luck is where opportunity meets opportunity meets whatever. Progress? No, opportunity meets pursuit or whatever. I don't know. But you have to put yourself out there in order to go on the direction that you want to be going. And I guess this is all to say, I still don't know. What am I doing? I don't know. We all just play pretend, which is the name of this podcast or YouTube channel. Can it be both? I guess it can be both. Some people do both. Or Spotify has video podcasts. Is this a video podcast? Is this a video? I don't know. And I don't FUCKING care. I do care. That's a lie. I do care. But I care so much that I don't care. I don't want to care. I don't know how to care. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm often confused. What is confusion of thought? Does anyone else experience this? Please tell me. I forget and then I get confused. I'm like, wait, what was happening? I don't know what we were talking about. I don't know what I was talking about. I don't know what the point of this was. I just picked up the microphone and started talking into it because this feels like it gives me purpose. Yet I am purposeful. I am worthy without this. But it makes me feel purposeful, okay? We're working through it in therapy. Thank you very much. I feel sort of like Emma Chamberlain right now, even though she's probably like 10 years younger than me. Yes, I am inspired by the youth of today. She's in her 20s, but is she the youth? Am I a youth? I don't know. Depending on who you ask, where you're looking, I could be youth. I could be not. I mean, 31 is it. I thought it was old, but I still am a child, basically. But yeah, I feel like her because I'm just like in my bed. I'm in my bed. I wish you could see my bed right now. It is a mess. I have my file folder here because I called the tax people today, or the government. Then I have this Barbie clock that I found. It's an old Barbie clock in my Barbies that I have no recollection of, that I took the batteries from. I have this light. I have sunglasses that honestly, they're pretty shit. Other personal glasses. A card reader for my SD card. More batteries. My iPad. A purse. My phone. Water. And a DJ set deck. Okay, I'm tired. Kind of hungry. I might go get a snack. I might not, but I'm gonna go to bed. Good night. Good night, everybody. Good night, California. I don't know why. I'm not in California. Good night, Mississauga. Woo! Woo! I need a better send off. Good night. Good evening. And good night. Good night. Good night. I need a really good send off. I don't know what it is yet. I don't know what I'm doing. But I am having fun along the way. Okay. Goodbye.